Hi, welcome to HerStory. First of all, I just want to thank you all for your support with season 1 of HerStory, and I really hope you've enjoyed watching it. Before we wrap season 1, we just want to talk a little bit about what we hope to see in season 2 and all the exciting stuff we have planned for season 2. So before we say bye, let's catch up on what we'll be doing for season 2.
This is her story. This is her story. This is her story. This is her story.
So, ladies, what's on your minds?
For me, a couple weeks ago, the BBC had a very interesting story about skin lightening. I think it was shot out of West Africa, but I've always been very fascinated and sad about how much skin lightening takes place in Zambia. Before it was just the purple jaribu. Now it's like it's taken over. It's pills.
The purple
Jaribu was a purple soap. Yes.
No,
That's how you know. No. I mean, Jaribu was a purple soap, and that was like kind of the start. I suppose it started from the days of Ambi, but it wasn't for skin lightening. Those were for actually maybe removing spots on your face. But now, there's pills, there's injections, and it's really gone to the extreme. I think that whole, the joke of Coca-Cola, Fanta, it has become extreme to the point of people look discolored, And for me, is it a self-esteem issue that we feel the need to lighten ourselves? People get comments, oh, you're pretty for a dark girl. Oh, how, at the office, if I wear a short skirt, I get told, but how can you be walking around with those brown legs? They're not dark like ours, which I actually find very offensive, because for me, legs are legs, A short skirt is a short skirt. But is it, are we still suffering from colonialism? Because obviously this is not just in Zambia. We see this in Asian culture. I lived in Korea for 6 years, and I was shocked at every cream in Korea had some kind of brightening. And basically that was their version. But it still was not the way it is here. And here, I don't think there's, nowadays, every other woman that passes is lightening. Almost, whether it's just a little bit, and it's no longer just the darker skinned girls. It's even girls who are my complexion who are now lightening to be lighter. And you can see it here. Your face is half eaten from the lightening cream, and your cheeks are red, and you're like, really? And there's just, you can never wear a skirt.
So it's a question of our standard of beauty.
Yes.
But also, I guess, what makes some women want to lighten their skin.
Yeah.
It goes back to the self-esteem issue that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Which I guess follows up from that is just the general mental health issue in Zambia.
Right.
I think we've talked about different things over the season that talk about our purpose, finding ourselves, happiness. So I think a more focused discussion around depression and mental health, and even that story of the girl, was it in the Copper Belt, who drank
Doom. She drank insecticide
and then
gave her son because her boyfriend had left her. Like, really? But obviously it was a lot deeper than that.
Yeah.
And the media and all of us probably scrutinized her. What were you thinking? But it's very, very difficult. We really don't look at mental health, like you said. Yeah.
We don't look at it. We don't even talk about it. Yes, it's so prevalent in our society.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. On self-esteem for me also, it's the idea of women wearing weaves. No. It's actually, and Kathy's got one. But I think
today, just to talk.
I know she was like throwing it in my face. But for me, it's the self-esteem to the point somebody would go to buy a weave that they can't afford and can never come out with their natural hair. I'm bothered by the big blonde long weaves that are just like, really? That's like, now it's really extreme and a little too much. But I'm more bothered by the women and the young girls who don't even have groceries at home and will take all the grocery money to go and buy a weave because they cannot be seen out in public with their natural hair. And what bothers me most is that we are in Africa where it should be okay. So everybody understands because everybody's got the same hair, some, form of the same hair under the braids, under the weave, or whatever it might be. When I was growing up, I grew up in Canada, and one of the things that was very difficult was explaining my natural hair, especially when I got to middle school. I think when I was very young and in primary school, it didn't bother me so much. But I remember it becoming a problem that my dad had to look for some Ghanaian hairdresser to make sure that my hair was braided because it was such a big issue. And because we were in a situation, I think, where we didn't know what to do with my hair necessarily. And then the other thing was about having a big bum. I was so skinny, but obviously compared to the white girls, the first question they would say to me is, "You have such a big bum. What's wrong with you? You have and it became a real self-esteem issue. So, and even as I got older and maybe got heavier, and all you hear from your family is, "Now, Ina," or "You're so pretty, but you're so fat," and all of these things. I don't know if it's because maybe my personality doesn't show those things, but they can be very difficult to deal with. And so I wonder, are the girls who are trying to lighten their skin, is it the same sort of self-esteem issue? So that's something I really want to tackle, because it's not just in Zambia, it's not just in Asia. It's in West Africa, it's in the Caribbean now. Have you heard the crazy story that Jamaicans who, again, sorry, I am, right?
Know,
okay,
we're gonna have this.
all right, we'll have to wait and find out about what's happening with Jamaicans that are lightening their skin. Yeah.
Okay, so that's self-esteem, body image.
Yeah.
Yes.
And mental health.
And mental
health.
For you, sorry.
Yes.
Okay. I would like to talk about connection within a family. This is happening in my own family, and I'm really worried about it, where all of us have got our own gadgets, and yes, we're spending time together as a family in the same room, but we're all on our own gadgets. And there's no connection, there's no communication. So do we really know each other? So that's really, really bothering me, and I want us to look at that next season. And also, it seems as if we're living our life on social media.
Yeah.
My goodness me.
How many more videos will there be?
When you look at Facebook, it seems as if people's lives are perfect. I'm on holiday, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, so and so. But, but when you look at somebody's life in reality, is it as perfect as it is on social media? So let's get
And that ties back to mental health, because again, people are getting more depressed because they're looking at these lives on social media that seem perfect.
Yeah.
And self-esteem, because everybody puts their fake pictures on social media where they look perfect. The selfies where the lighting was right.
I woke up like
the lighting was perfect, and it took you so long to. And then people are getting famous. The Kardashians are famous because of social media, right? So it's a new way of not just promoting yourself, but kind of making yourself feel better. You don't need someone else who knows you to be like, "Tandy, you look great today," or
because I can get like 10,000
likes. Yeah, by doing the crazier thing, whatever crazier thing I do, the more likes I get. However, I change my body.
And also this thing of having friends on social media.
Those are not your friends.
You've got like 10,000 followers or friends, and you think they're your real friends? Come on, let's get real.
But people get really serious about that stuff.
Yeah, but it's really a good topic.
Yeah, that's why we're so
look forward to that one. What else?
What else? Also, I think it is very, very important for parents to talk to their children about what is happening in the family. We're getting a lot of blended families these days.
Yeah.
Somebody, A is divorced and marries B who's divorced, so they come together and they blend their families, So I just want people to be aware of the impact that could have on children, and how the children are affected by all these different dynamics that are coming in. So it's important that parents sit down and explain to their children what's going on. And even situations where, you have a child on the side.
Yeah.
I think it's so important that the parents should talk to the children in a home about that child on the side, so that it doesn't come as a surprise when somebody dies, or they're in their 30s and they're told, oh, you have a brother or a sister.
Or they're going through the will and they notice that someone's name is also in the will. Yeah.
Who's that?
Yeah.
I have to share my inheritance with them? Damn it.
I think it also, on that topic, Tandy, I think it just also releases a lot of anger. I mean, I'm in a blended family, and I was very angry when I was forced to call my stepmother mom without knowing even why she was my mom, because I was so young, you know. I probably disliked my stepfather for the first 2 years or whatever, because I was away at school and I came back and here was this guy now who had taken over our family, and nobody ever talked to me. My dad never talked to me about that side, and my mom really didn't talk to me about that side until I probably had a hissy fit one day, and we had to. But I think if from the time you're a young age, like you said, you talk to them about it, I think it just removes a lot of pain and stress and surprise. Yeah.
But I think even just a bit going before you even become the blended family, I think even just seeing people who are separated and how they relate with their children, I just feel like, you know, you have to be honest with children, regardless of their age. They're more resilient, you know, they can take a lot. So I think that, you know, that for me is a really interesting topic as well.
Now also with social media, you can't hide.
Oh, yeah.
True.
I mean, imagine if you've got your mom and you're splitting up or something, and I write, oh, Kathy, I hope the divorce isn't going too bad. You know, no, honestly. You know, and then your kid's like, what?
Yes.
What do you mean? You know? And that's what happens. And like you said about communication, one of the saddest things is my little cousin, she lost her dad a couple of years ago. You know how she found out her father died? On Facebook. Before we even had a chance to speak to her, and she was all that stuff is like, what?
Well, that kind of again ties back to living your life on social media, because there are other things that even sometimes I look at that and I'm like, why would you put something so personal like that out there? You know, I just think that sometimes when somebody has died, within seconds it's on social media, like this person died. I'm like, whoa, you know, just maybe chill a little bit. It doesn't need to be out there that quickly, you know. So that's an interesting one as well.
Anything else for you, Kathy?
I think my last one is my pet peeve. It is this mediocrity in Zambia. And it's like, it's across the board with everything. Whether it's from our politicians, the way governments are run, the way our businesses are run,
my gosh.
the way as individuals we live our lives, is just kind of... I just don't understand why we have to be this. Not only accepted, but why are we like this in the first place? Yeah. How are we supposed to compete? How are we supposed to grow as a nation if we're forever being substandard?
I mean, right now the Olympics are going on, and every time this is a reaction.
By the time this airs, I'm sure it'll be over.
Well, yes, by the time this airs, the Olympics will probably be over. But what I just think is, look at us. As soon as we have an athlete, we're like, oh. Yeah. We're already expecting to lose. And when somebody actually does something, we're like, hey, wait a sec, why are we surprised all the time?
But I think it's also, what is our definition of mediocre? Yeah. You know, and that's what I really want to be able to do, is break it down. So, because I think we should have a basic understanding of what is an acceptable level. You know, I think when we were at that Nyamuka conference and somebody, I think it was Nitesh, was talking about a certain quality that they needed for something. I was like, but how will anyone know what that quality is? Like, if you've never experienced it, can we really hold people accountable to be like, well, that is not an international quality glass because it's bending to the side, or, you know, go to a hotel and expect 5-star service, but the people who are serving you have never experienced a 5-star service.
Or the room has dirty sheets, or... certain hotel in Lusaka has never painted the ballroom for the last 20 years, you know.
But if the people responsible for that have never painted their own home
ever, exactly,
they're like, well, what's your problem?
And I think for mediocrity, and then people have the audacity to get angry when you don't hire them for jobs. In my particular job, I hire a lot of people, and I want to hire Zambians, but sometimes it's like, you can't do this, and my brand is going to look like... And they wonder, why don't you hire... I hire as many Zambians as I can, but sometimes, look at the job you've brought to me. Even after we've had a briefing, I've showed you the quality I'm looking for, and you don't charge me a cheap price.
Exactly.
So why should I get, a cheap quality from you? Yeah.
It's funny you say that because right now, the other day I saw this thing on Facebook where somebody put this quote up. It says, you can pretend that you'll work and I'll pretend that I'll pay you.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what, this feels like my life right now.
I think it also all boils down to our levels of education, when you talk about mediocrity. So I think...
No, also our standard. It's not just levels of education. I think there's a lot of people. I lived in Asia, and there would be people who've not necessarily gone to university or even any sort of, maybe they've just finished grade 9 or 12, but the quality of work that they bring you, because they know it's competitive.
Yeah.
Okay, they won't, if you say, I want a mug, the mug will be the right metrics, it'll have the right feel, whatever it is, whatever you ask them for. And it's just because it's like, hey, if I don't get this job, somebody else will. And that's the bottom line. And she won't accept it. And I would have wasted all my money and time making this set of mugs. Whereas here, what do we do? Yeah, okay, just give it to me.
So exposure, education is very important if we have to tackle mediocrity.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's like everything seems to tie back around to the same thing. We're talking about education. We're talking about exposure. But we're also talking about, again, mental health and self-esteem. Because when you're like, I want to be the best. I want to have this... I want to be able to show what I can do and put my all in it. But sometimes you just feel like we just go through life like, I'm entitled.
Yeah.
I really don't
I really
know
have
why
to do anything.
we in Zambia feel so entitled, but I really think there's a sense of entitlement.
There's a huge sense of entitlement.
And it's just kind of like, but yeah, to get the country back to being a functional country and to move this national development that we keep talking about, these are some of the issues that we need to talk about. So I think for me, those, it's just like there's so
many.
Yeah.
There's so many. Yeah.
There's so many. We haven't even talked about the random videos of
Stop making videos of your spouse. Stop putting them on social media because you look just as bad as what's going on. And
another thing that really, really gets me is women who are having affairs and take photos of themselves
with the young guy,
and then they're surprised when those photos turn up on social media.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know.
Again, it's this living your life on social media, your 15 minutes of fame. It's like common sense goes out the window.
You went to the trouble of finding some private lodge or hotel. You went to the trouble of having an understood, and then you take pictures and put them out there. Like, you should have just been at home where everybody could have seen you.
Chill has something special for season 2. We just don't know what that is, and I would be very worried.
You shouldn't be worried. I just want to tell you guys that you're going to be aunties.
That was the news!
Chill.
Congratulations! I told you that was what
You're
it was.
pregnant?
I've been pregnant, and you're going to be aunties in 5 months. You haven't even noticed that you've been drinking wine by yourself for a
How
long
would I notice that I'm drinking wine by myself?
You noticed that I've been just sipping that same glass for a long time. And we will talk about all the tribulations because there's I think a lot to talk about around there. It's not always roses and all that stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Bernie's gonna have a little something.
And Kathy's gonna be more irritated.
Yeah, I will be.
But anyway, she's like, oh my God, there's another one. I can't deal with
Like,
this.
how many more months until you can start drinking again? But anyway. Anyway, so that's what we will be talking about in season 2. Oh, so much is going to happen. But we want to know what you want us to talk about as well. And yes, we will have a new president and see how that's working out. So let us know what you want us to talk about, whether on the Facebook page or in the YouTube comments below. And see you next season.